Alright, what's going on, guys? So, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be discussing World War II Vanguard Zombies, or Call of Duty 2021. Now, this game has been quite turbulent as far as Vanguard news goes, from people thinking it's been entirely canceled months ago to its reveal probably coming up in Warzone this August. But today, we're going to be discussing the ins and outs of what we currently know about zombies in Vanguard. Currently, we know a pretty decent amount of information regarding this next Zombies game and like how it might work mechanically, some of the maps that we could see, and potentially how that's going to interact with Cold War's content as well, which we'll get into. But nonetheless, I think you guys are going to enjoy the video today. If you do, please make sure to give it a like rating. That would be insane. Make sure to subscribe also if you're new to the channel so you don't miss any more zombies content. But we've got a lot to unpack today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video, and let's get into World War II Vanguard Zombies. So first of all, just in case there were any doubts that the next Call of Duty game is going to be called World War II Vanguard, if you look in the Cold War Season 5 promotional image for the roadmap, you can see that there's like this lettering kind of going on in the background, and when translated, this literally says Vanguard is coming. No, it's kind of what we suspected to begin with, but it's certainly very much on the nose right here. The first thing we should know about Vanguard is this, again, is a primarily developed Sledgehammer Games product, and that being said, it's still going to have the influence of Treyarch to some degree, and maybe even a little bit of Infinity Ward, but for the most part, it's going to be Sledgehammer. One thing to consider, though, compared to the original World War II game in 2017, for the most part, this Sledgehammer Games is a very different studio than it was all those years ago. Virtually all of the lead developers that made World War II 2017 are no longer at Sledgehammer Games, and they have a completely new and revamped studio. That was pretty much the same case, by the way, with Treyarch this previous year with Cold War. There was a lot of new blood at the studio, and you can kind of take that as a good or bad thing, but that seems to be where Sledgehammer is right now at the moment. Also, we suspect as of right now, World War II Vanguard is going to get revealed via Warzone, kind of like how they did with Cold War, revealing it through, you know, in-game events and things of that nature, and apparently it's going to be sometime this month. One thing we do know that Activision has mentioned is they really want to unify the Call of Duty experiences going forward, but what exactly does that mean? According to what we know, World War II Vanguard Zombies will play on the Modern Warfare 2019 engine, so that means basically you can think of the movement system and the overall like lighting of that game and that kind of thing, what MW 2019 was built on. As far as we know, that's what Vanguard Zombies is going to play on. This is some of the best news I think we could probably hear, because one of the biggest things holding back World War II Zombies, the 2017 one, at least in my opinion, was the very outdated and clunky engine that everything was built on. There are a lot of things in Call of Duty World War II Zombies that worked well in 2017 and were great concepts, but unfortunately were held back to a significant degree by the outdated and very, very clunky engine. So this means essentially if we're playing in the time frame of World War II, and it's going to be a primarily Sledgehammer project, but we are on the like movement system and general engine of Modern Warfare 2019, that actually could be a pretty well-playing game. Also, the unifying of experiences goes a little bit farther as well. I would expect it to look to some degree like Cold War, where you can basically shift through some of the different games within the main menu. You can go to like Modern Warfare or Cold War in this case, and then also load up Warzone all from the same launcher. Now, with that in mind, one of the most important things as far as what we're talking about for zombies is we need to know how involved Treyarch is with this project. Because if we know to what degree Treyarch is involved, we can kind of make an inference to guess about what they're doing, not only with maybe one of their new titles or their current title, Cold War, and then we can also try to infer what Vanguard is going to be doing with Sledgehammer. So apparently Treyarch is minimally involved with this year's Zombies experience, meaning they might be giving feedback for like Easter egg quests and general map design, but as far as like story and stuff goes, that they don't have that much influence at all. But there's been conflicting reports that that isn't the case. One of the maps that we believe was cut from Cold War was a sort of Dur-Reese remake. We don't know if it was a hard remake, kind of like how like the remasters were in Chronicles, or a little bit more of a softer remake like D-Machine and having the Nocturne Tone influence in there. But Dur-Reese to some degree was maybe involved at one point in Cold War's life cycle, and to be honest, could be easily translated over into Vanguard if they really wanted to. This year, if they wanted to continue the Cold War storyline into Vanguard, they could absolutely do that instead of trying to build another Zombies crew and entire storyline from the ground up. At that point, it would make the most sense to include some of these more Treyarch feeling maps, even if they're just integrated minimally like how they were in D-Machine. Now, I do believe that Vanguard is going to have a lot of Zombies maps with round-based experiences, we'll say, just kind of like how Cold War is, but also having the other addition of something like Outbreak that is a slight deviation on the formula, right? Where you kind of go into a map, you complete an objective, and you teleport somewhere else. Like, that Outbreak concept is really solid, and I think could be tightened up a little bit, and Vanguard might be attempting to do that. Outbreak was a mode that extended its reach far beyond what Zombies was able to do on its own with round-based maps. For Treyarch, the Outbreak mode evidently competed in terms of player count with Outbreak with the general population of round-based maps. So it was reaching an entirely new demographic who had never really been interested in Zombies before, and a lot of those, I would imagine, also converted to playing round-based maps and vice versa. Outbreak as a mode's got its issues for sure, but all in all is a stellar idea that I really think it represents a bright future for Zombies. That experience could be tightened up a lot and made to feel a little bit more Zombies-like, we'll say, but if they were able to somehow capture that in this World War II Vanguard game, not only having round-based maps alongside of what we'll call the Outbreak mode, I believe those two things coexist very well, and I would not be surprised at all if Sledgehammer is working on both of those concepts for Vanguard Zombies. One thing I wanted to mention in terms of how the Easter eggs might work in Vanguard, one thing I think World War II did really well, at least in their first map with the Final Reich, the concept was there of having a casual and a super Easter egg. Now, this is a pretty complicated discussion, to be honest, and a lot of people have strong opinions on this in the community, we'll just put it that way, but I think having maybe an option of like a somewhat casual quest that more or less guides you through it, you can kind of think of D Machine's Easter egg that way, where it's fairly easy to get through and the steps aren't too complicated, to something a little bit more hardcore that requires intricate solves and maybe gives a little bit of a different ending. I actually think that concept is really solid, but the Final Reich unfortunately just didn't get there for a lot of reasons, but it's not something we should just dispense with entirely. I even think that mentality could be applied to both Outbreak or whatever their like open world mode is going to be, as well as their round-based maps. I don't know what you guys think about having a casual and a hardcore Easter egg, because it kind of will satisfy to some degree both communities of people who want the Easter eggs to be harder but also not to be tedious and annoying, and you can kind of choose your path, and it gives you basically a second quest to do in game. I know that's probably a lot to develop, but I think that could work. Generally speaking, I think this year around, Vanguard is going to stray away from super tedious Easter eggs, or at least I hope they will, but if they implement the kind of two-part system, I believe that will be kind of having your cake and eat it too. Something else that's pretty interesting is Activision mentioned that World War II Vanguard is supposedly going to have some of the most amount of post-launch content that a Call of Duty game has ever seen, and that brings up a very interesting discussion as to why that is. World War II 2017 didn't really have the best track record, all things considered. I'd say the game greatly improved near the end of its life cycle, but I think Activision knows that as well, and I don't know why exactly they would stake all of their like bets basically on World War II Vanguard doing really well and then developing all of this like post-launch content for that game. Now, I think as far as gameplay goes, using World War II 2017 as a model for what this game will likely look and play like is the wrong level to analyze it at. I think for the most part, it's going to play a lot like Cold War / Modern Warfare 2019, but with a World War II skin. Now, if they're not continuing the storyline of Cold War Zombies and Vanguard, I think it is entirely possible that we do see basically two separate streams of Zombies content coming from different developers. It's an unlikely scenario, but it could happen. Treyarch may continue to make Zombies content for Cold War in a year 2-like scenario, where Sledgehammer might continue to make their own Zombies experiences in Vanguard, and we basically have like two essential zombie games to pick from. In fact, we virtually know for sure that Cold War is still going to get supported even after Vanguard comes out, but to what degree that it's going to affect Zombies content, that isn't entirely clear. But when you put together kind of everything we know currently about the game, we're expecting a Sledgehammer-designed Zombies experience on the Modern Warfare engine potentially, with some backing and support from Treyarch. So, pretty interesting stuff. Now, you could argue that this might end up to a situation where there's kind of like too many cooks in the kitchen, and maybe that ends up being a disaster, but I think that's worst case scenario. It's going to be a pretty interesting year for Zombies, and I'm definitely looking forward to the road ahead. So anyways, let me know what you guys think about all this down below in the comment section. Are you excited for World War II Vanguard Zombies, or are you more interested in a Cold War Year 2? Very curious on what people are thinking right now. Of course, we haven't seen anything yet, so it's kind of preemptive to make that decision, but I would love to know your thoughts regardless. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video though, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I do stream Zombies on Twitch. If you don't follow me, link that's down below in the description. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. I gotta go, and peace out.